I might just say something on the front end. First of all, people are talking about things like frustration and all of that. I can assure you none of that had anything to do with my decision. When I ran for the Senate back in 2006, I was a business guy who had served as a mayor as a civic endeavor. I mean, it wasn't really a political position from my perspective. And when I ran, I told people that I just couldn't imagine serving more than 2 terms. Once I got up here and I became chairman of the Foreign Relations, and I had difficulties thinking about running again in 2012, but I knew what was in front of me relative to the Foreign Relations chairmanship. And so, once you're in a position of influence here, obviously, the pull is to stay. But, I think that I've been the kind of senator that I've been. I know I've been the kind of senator I've been because I've never looked at elections. I came up here to serve, and I've been very frank and direct and, tried to get to the meat of the issues. And so at the end, it was a tough decision. I mean, when you're chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee and you can make a phone call to almost anybody in the world and they will pick up, and you can have influence over things that are happening. It's a very difficult job to leave. And so, it took a while. I've been talking about this with my family for a year and talking to other people who might be interested in running for this seat for a long, long time. So, but it was still tough. And toughest part, of course, talking to your staff. Look, I've got 15 months left here to do everything I possibly can to enhance our country, to pursue our national interest. I'm excited about that. And anybody, by the way, who complains about serving in these positions, sure, I'd love to get more done on the floor. Sure, I'd love to pass tax reform. Sure, I would have loved to have improved our health care system. And we still have time to work on those things. But seriously, every single morning when I walk to the elevator in the building that I live, I'm thankful for the opportunity to do what I do. And all of us who have, especially in the Senate, the capacity to serve as a United States Senator and to weigh in on things that matter to people back home, but also around our country and around the world, what a privilege that is. And so I leave here I've seen senators in the past, leaving, complaining. Yeah, you'll never see me do that. I mean, it's an incredible privilege. So with that,
Mr. Senator,
questions or comments?
The next 15 months will be the most important in your
I think
career.
It could
How
be.
Come?
I think it well could be. There's so many things that are happening over the next 15 months. We have something happening. We know something is going to happen in October relative to Iran, right? I'm working very, very closely with the administration, very, very closely with them on that occurrence. The tax reform issue is something that I'm going to be very, very, very involved in. I hope we're successful. It's probably far harder than health care reform. People think tax cuts are easy. That's not going to happen, okay? We're talking tax reform. And that's difficult. I mean, every industry, every company, every group has some special thing in the code that they like. And so when you start talking about broadening the base, it's hard. I mean, you're staring down people who have some special thing in the code that matters to them. So I hope we're successful there. I hope we're able to do the pro-growth reform that all of us have discussed. I'm going to be very central in that, very active. And then there's so many other foreign policy issues that we're going to be dealing with.
In the summer of last year, you were said to be on the short list for a vice presidential nomination and considered for a cabinet post.
Yeah.
It seemed like you were committed to staying in government for a while. What changed between now and then?
Well, actually, I've not said I won't serve in some other capacity. I'm not looking at anything right now. But again, when I ran, I really looked at this as a citizen legislator model. That's exactly what Bill Frist did. He served for 2 terms and left. And he was a majority leader of the Senate. I mean, why would you leave? Well, because, I mean, he had the same model. He's actually coming by to see me a little bit later today. It's the fact that I think when you serve in the Senate, and this isn't for everybody. There are other people that, you know, this is what they're going to do their entire lives. But for people like me, who've done other things in life and may do other things beyond this, I think the citizen legislator model is best. I mean, I hope that people have viewed me as being very independent. I hope. I have been. I hope people have viewed me as being very direct and trying to get to the heart of things. And I think when you come in not thinking your goal is to be here your entire life, you conduct yourself in a little bit different way. So, look, if there's an opportunity for me to make a difference in some other way, I'm sure that I would look at it. Right now, again, I have absolutely nothing.
Tennessee governor?
You know, that field is, I mean, if that were something that I was going to attempt to pursue, then, you know, it would have been good to think about that a year ago. There's been a lot of people who've been working hard, and it doesn't seem to me that that's something to think about. But, you know, over the course of, over the course of the next 15 months, who knows what might happen. I do want to leave strong, and meaning that we have a lot to do, and I want to make sure that you know, the afterburners are on as we are leaving, and our staff, I know, is committed to that. And so I'm not really out here, if you will, beginning to think about what next steps are. I'm thinking about the things that we can get done over the next 15 months that will matter to people here and around the world.
That being said, do you have a preferred successor, Representative Blackburn, Governor Haslam, Peyton Manning?
Well, I've talked to all of them, you know, and you know, I talked to Marcia yesterday. I talked to Governor Haslam. He's known for some time. Bill is not just governor of Tennessee, but he's a very good friend of mine. I think y'all know his brother was my roommate in college. I've known Bill since he was 15. I think Bill would tell you that we took a long bike ride one day, 40 miles, and I'd just been elected mayor of Chattanooga, and you know, by the end of the race, he decided he had decided he was going to run for mayor of Knoxville. So we have a long history, and Bill has known for the last longer than a year that there was a great likelihood I would not seek re-election. So I've talked to Bill, I've talked to Marcia, I've talked to Peyton this morning. Exchanged text with him.
What did he say?
You know, Peyton, you know, I tell my staff jokingly, I said, you know, this could turn out really good for you guys. You know, I don't think Peyton is the kind of person I hope will be in public office someday or in public service in some way. I've had him. I introduced him, I think you know, for an award he received at the Lincoln Theater, and a well-deserved award. You know, I think you know, when we had 5 soldiers killed in Chattanooga, we put together a very something that helped raise a tremendous amount of money to help the families. Peyton drove that. He's just a good person, and I do hope someday he will enter public service. I know that he is enjoying the private time he has right now with his kids. He's coaching his 6-year-old's football team, and I don't think he wants all of you guys calling him right now about this, okay? Just be honest, so please don't. But, you know, is it possible that you know, someday he runs for the Senate or something like that? I think it is.
So
is it possible?
Like he said no thanks then? Is that what we're getting?
I don't think he said anything yet. I think this is all, I don't think he ever, well, I know Bill Haslam and others who are looking at running. I know that they all knew I was serious about, you know, and I think they knew it was actually likely that I would not run. I don't think that, I think Peyton continued to think that was not reality. So this has been a shock. He and Bill were together last night at the residence in Nashville. There was an event there, and I know they were, Bill wasn't surprised. I think Peyton was. But look, I is he going to run for this seat? I think the chances are low. Is there a chance down the road that he could be enticed to run for the United States Senate or something like that? I hope so. He's the kind of person that I hope will serve in the public, as I've mentioned. A very good friend, very good person. And, you know, he masters things. I mean, you all know what he did as quarterback. I mean, he knew more about the other team than the team knew about themselves, and that's the way he would be in this particular position. But I think it's a low likelihood. Is it totally out of the question? I don't think it's totally out of the question.
Who would you like to see come in?
And he's going to be upset with me over this. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. I got a text from him today. Please do not fan the flames. Okay, so but anyway.
My question was, who would you like to see succeed you on foreign relations?
Look, there's a pecking order that occurs. I get it. I will have no involvement in that whatsoever.
You could endorse, though.
No, I don't. No, you don't do that. I mean, the committee makes that decision, and outgoing people are not appreciated in sharing their thoughts. Usually it goes to the next person in line, and that would be Jim Risch. That's typically the way the committees work, and unless for some reason he decided he didn't want to do it, my guess is that's who would be the next chairman.
And Senator, you mentioned that frustration levels didn't weigh into this. You've been thinking about this well before the last year of politics, but does what's going on in the last year, how politics may be here in Washington, does it make it a little bit easier to make this decision?
I know there's a narrative out there, and I generally like to help people with their narrative. But in this case, look, is it frustrating that we are not doing major bipartisan legislation on the Senate floor? No question. Is that the reason that I made this decision? No. I think that you just have to understand what life is like as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. I mean, you still every day, have the opportunity to influence something that is occurring. So there are major things that we need to do on behalf of our nation, and yes, I understand the frustration of the American people. Absolutely. I am equally as frustrated at those things not being done. But I woke up every single day, and today included, walking in, knowing what a privilege it is to do what we do. And I'm in a unique position where so much of what happens, look, here, I'm a legislator here. I'm a lawmaker, and I don't like laws. Okay, I don't like laws. So, I was a business guy. Constant law passing was just, I'm sitting out in the business world, and I don't like that. I don't like it. So I'm not a guy who necessarily feels like he has to make a difference through having his name on legislation. On important pieces, yes, we drive them and we make them happen, and hopefully they have good effect. But the bigger place that someone like me, who's chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, can make a difference is really on influencing the administration, influencing other countries. There's so many levers that you can utilize in this position. So I don't in any way, the American people should be incredibly frustrated about Washington right now. They should be angry. We all are frustrated. That has absolutely nothing to do, though, because it's, again, such a privilege, in spite of the fact that not much is happening on the floor to do what I do. It really is. I mean, really.
And was this decision made just in the last couple of days, or what has it really been? I know you said you've been thinking about it for a year.
My family have been saints. I don't know how many times we've talked about this. And, I did seek input from other people, but I really tried not to wear people out because it's a personal decision. I mean, there's 3 or 4 people, 5, 6 that I probably have talked with. But, you can end up being high maintenance, talking about it a great deal. So I haven't really done a lot of outward discussion. Micah, she prepared for yesterday 3 times. Okay, there was something. I mean, there's never been a day when I woke up and said I was going to run.
Yeah.
never.
So that
It's
was
always-
what it was. It was you were planning on not running, and it was
Yeah,
kind
well,
of just not being able to pull the trigger on-
let me say, I was planning on not running, and then we kept kind of preparing, and money kept coming in, and again, you have people who are here and around the state and around the country that are saying, "Hey, you can't leave as chairman of the Foreign Relations. You can't leave us here," and so, there's that pull to stay by people who. Not everybody appreciates what you do, but by those people who appreciate what you do, there's a pull to stay. But at the end of the day, in my sort of, in my gut, there was never a day that I was absolutely going to run. And, I wasn't ready to pull the trigger until I gave myself a final of 12 o'clock yesterday and 11:58. I went back to the balcony behind the Senate chambers. There's a place back there that none of you have ever been probably, but it looks out over the Capitol grounds. It's a place where when I've had a really tough vote and you just want to meditate over, pray a little bit about what it is you're going to do, which is the right vote. We've had not many of those votes, but especially when I first got here with issues relative to Iraq and other kinds of things, there were some pretty heady votes and that could have gone either way. And so I went out there yesterday at 11:15, and Micah and Todd were off campus for a little while, and 11:58, final, and we had a TikTok that was already laid out, had been prepared several months ago, as far as who to call and when and what time, and we had to delay a little bit. The president had difficulties. He was on Air Force One. He's on Marine One first, and can't talk to him on Marine One, and so I had to wait until we had our conversation. But it worked the way we thought it would. And once the decision was made, the toughest part was telling our staff. But other than that, I've been very centered. I feel very, very at peace and know it was exactly the right thing to do. And I know I'm going on and on, but really to make the decision, I had to think back to what I was thinking when I ran in 2006, and the kind of senator I had hoped to be and hopefully have been, and what is it that has allowed me to say things other people won't say and do things other people won't do, and to work with people on the other side of the aisle to try to make things happen. What is that? And it's been the fact that never ever have I thought about a re-election, ever. And it just felt like, to continue on with that thinking and to stay the 2 terms that I set out to stay was the right thing to do.
Senator, now that
What
you've
happened in
made the
Alabama.
decision and you've announced it, will you be even more candid, and what might be your assessment of President
Well, now can
Trump?
I be more candid, really?
Can I get your latest assessment of the president, for example?
I know y'all will be asking me for daily assessments now, but
What do you think?
so look, I today's not the day for that kind of thing. I don't think people fully appreciate the kind of relationship that we have. I mean, you alluded to I got to know the president in June of last year. Happenstance. Then he talked to me about being vice president, and got to know him very well, and I knew it wasn't the right thing for me and therefore not for him. And then the Secretary of State thing happened. Spent a lot of time there, and I've gotten to know Ivanka and Jared and others very well. I've been in and out of the White House a zillion times, okay? And, the president, I don't say this to brag, but he truly just calls me sometimes to commiserate. I mean, just, at night he gets 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, period, and so he's got this nervous energy, and he is a ubiquitous phone caller, okay? And so, I was leaving a workout with my wife last Thursday night, and, as a president, just wanting to commiserate about health care. So, we have a unique relationship. I've been very direct, and he's been very direct. But and much of what I've said that might be you might consider constructive criticism. Much of what I've said privately. We've had dinner together to talk about those kind of things. So, I say what I say and I do what I do not to get a pound of flesh. I say what I say and do what I do to try to alter the way things are going. And look, I came up here to make good things happen for our country. I've never woken up a single day, whether it was President Obama, President Bush, President Trump, never woken up a single day saying, I want to stick a stick in their eye or something. Never. It's always, hey, we may disagree on this, but how can we make something good come out of this situation? And that's what it's going to be for the next 15 months. Do I feel a little freer? I really don't, because I've kind of always known I probably wouldn't run. So
some people might, it seems like you've kind of always been trying to push the president in a more positive direction, or direction that you see more fit. Some might look at this as saying that you're fed up and you don't want to do that anymore, and you want to be able to say what you really feel.
Well, could I have been more? I don't think that's the case. Okay, no, I'm not fed up. No, for anybody. I know that I saw some of the morning programs today, and I know the narrative is that people are leaving out of frustration. I just, again, there may be people leaving out of frustration, and again, am I frustrated that we aren't getting more done? Yes. Is that why I'm leaving? Absolutely not. I'm leaving because I felt like that the citizen legislator model, I knew that's the model that I came up here with, and I just felt like that was the model that I should leave with. And while the pull was to stay, you get in these positions, pretty enviable place to be chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. The pull is to stay. When I really, continued to examine my roots and, who I am as a person and the kind of public service I want to be known for having been involved in, it just was a no-brainer. And that's why it's been, typically one would have, quote, seller's remorse in making a decision like this and wake up the next day and say, I can't believe I did this. I just have none of that. I've been very
Can we have your message
reaction
for the people of
to what happened
Tennessee?
in Alabama last night?
I'm not much of you guys see me in the hallways a lot. I'm not much of a political analyst kind of guy.
You urged the president to go help in that, didn't you?
Well, I heard the president had. I did. I did because I knew he wanted Luther to win, and he had already endorsed Luther. But he had made the decision Luther was his candidate, and all I was saying was, if Luther's your man and you wanted to win, you kind of need to go down to Alabama. And I put him on the phone with somebody who knew. This is pretty interesting about the president. I gave the president somebody's cell phone number that could tell him exactly how things were on the ground. And before I got to my car walking out of the White House, he'd already called the guy. So, I kind of like that, okay? I really do. And but yes, I encouraged him to go, saying, look, if you really want Luther to win, you're going to have to go down there. And Pence Pence decided he needed to do the same. But as far as the outcome goes, I don't know the candidate who won. Each state decides who's going to be their senator. Whoever ends up being elected out of Alabama is going to have an election certificate just like I do. And I look forward to meeting that person. And I'll be serving the Senate with them. It'll sound for at least a year anyway. So
Senator, can we have a
Last
message for the
question.
people of Tennessee? Our stations there will be watching you.
Yeah, I cannot thank the people of Tennessee enough for the privilege of serving in the United States Senate on behalf of our great state, and to have allowed me to do what I'm doing and to serve in the capacity that I am today as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee and an active member on banking and on the budget committee. This is the greatest privilege of my life. And I just walked out before y'all came in and met with constituents from Tennessee, and I will miss greatly my involvement with people of all walks of life from across our state and meeting and talking with them. I'm going to miss our staff. I'm going to miss the responsibilities that I have here, but this is exactly the right thing to do, and somebody else is going to come along and you know, I'm sure do as good or better job, and that's the way this should work. There should be turnover. We shouldn't have people camping for life in these positions. I mean, I think it's good for the system. So I just want to thank them, and I'll do it many times before I leave, but I want to thank the citizens of our state who have allowed me this tremendous privilege, given me this responsibility, and allowed me to make a difference in a real way, not just here at home, but you know, in other places around the world.
What difference do you want to be remembered for so far?
Oh, if you don't mind, since it's 15 months out, I don't want to be. I've never taken notes. I never had any designs on writing a book. You know, I've been too busy. There's a lot of funny experiences that I wish I had documented, and a lot of historic experiences that I had. I know there's some senators here, every meeting you go to, they're taking notes about every meeting, and apparently they are writing a book and maybe thinking about a legacy. I just haven't thought about my legacy. Maybe I'll think more fully about that, hopefully. So I don't even want to, 15 months out, I don't want to respond, but in 12 months, ask me that question. Okay.